She was shrieking like she'd been dunked in acid, arms flailing, bridal makeup streaming down her face in streaks that made her look like a crazed raccoon. My backyard had become a frothing sea of white foam, and somewhere beneath it, Lorraine's $1,000 heels had vanished along with her dignity. Bridesmaids slipped around like cartoon characters. One groomsman was face down in the ruins of the mimosa bar, and the DJ was yelling that his gear was definitely not waterproof. I stood calmly on the porch, lemonade in one hand, remote control in the other. "Well, you said you wanted a pool party," I called out. Just didn't specify who it was for. It all started a week earlier. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood where peace is maintained by fences, manicured lawns, and minding your own business. But Lorraine, the new HOA president, missed that memo. She'd seized power after a vicious campaign against the previous president for asymmetrical hedges. She swept in like a dictator with a pastel clipboard, determined to mold the neighborhood into her personal utopia. At first, I thought she was just overly zealous. That illusion shattered when she showed up unannounced on a Monday afternoon, dressed like she was headed to a vineyard gala, dragging a frazzled wedding planner and a yappy dog in a tutu. Without a greeting, she stepped onto my porch, did a dramatic 360-degree spin like she was scouting for a TV show, and fixed her gaze on me like I was her personal assistant. "Your pool," she declared, "is perfect for my bridal party. The lighting, the patio, the minimalist stone trim, it screams upscale pre-wedding vibes. We'll need it next Saturday. My planner will handle catering." I blinked, sure I'd misheard. "Wait, you're asking to use my pool?" She waved dismissively, like I was being theatrical. "Don't be silly. I'm telling you so you don't embarrass yourself by being unprepared. I know you're not on Reddit's bridal forums." I stood stunned for a moment. "No," I said firmly. "That's not happening." Her head snapped back like I'd tossed a sandal at her. "Excuse me." "You heard me," I said, keeping my tone steady. "I'm not hosting anyone's event, especially one I didn't agree to." Her eyes narrowed. "You want to be that neighbor during my wedding week?" "Yes," I replied. "Exactly that neighbor." She huffed, spun on her heel, and stormed off, the planner mouthing a silent sorry as she trailed behind. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. The next morning, 3 HOA citations were stuffed in my mailbox. One for unauthorized exterior decorations, a wind chime. Another for improper trash can storage, I'd rolled them out 6 inches early. And a third for excessive water use, because apparently filling my pool was now a crime. Lorraine had weaponized the HOA to retaliate. I stayed calm, took photos, noted details, and filed disputes, but inside, I was fuming. On Wednesday, my neighbor Jake tipped me off. "Yo, Lorraine dropped this off," he said, handing me a pastel flyer titled "Bridal Bliss Pool Party for Saturday at 3 p.m. with my address in bold. Steam practically hissed from my ears. That night, I checked my security footage. Lorraine and her maid of honor had snuck into my backyard after dark, measuring the patio and whispering about floral setups. One tripped over my garden hose, knocking over a solar light. This wasn't just nervy, it was a hostile takeover. Thursday, I attended the emergency HOA meeting Lorraine called. I brought copies of her flyer, screenshots of her community Facebook posts, and a USB of security footage. She stood at the front, gushing about celebrating love in our beautiful neighborhood. I raised my hand. "Yes, neighbor," she asked, her fake smile barely hiding a scowl. "When did the HOA vote to turn my private pool into a wedding venue?" The room went silent. Lorraine stammered about community spirit and a friendly favor. I presented the evidence, videos, flyers, the works. Awkward coughs filled the room. She claimed I'd verbally agreed. No one bought it. She was exposed, humiliated, but not defeated. Not yet. Friday, she showed up with cupcakes and a card. "Let's not ruin the wedding." Inside, it read, "We forgive you. See you tomorrow." I didn't touch the cupcakes. That evening, I dug out my old festival gear from my college days, organizing concerts, lights, speakers, and a 25-gallon commercial-grade foam cannon I'd used for a spring bash. I cleaned it, tested it, and aimed it at the pool's center. Saturday morning, the neighborhood buzzed with anticipation. People knew something was coming. I positioned myself on the porch, camera ready, phone and foam remote in hand. At 2:58 p.m., the first white van rolled up, followed by 3 more. Lorraine stepped out in a white sundress and heels, like she was on a movie set. Bridesmaids in matching coral rompers strutted behind. The DJ unloaded gear. Lorraine waved like royalty, shouting, "Let the party begin." That's when I hit the remote. The foam cannon roared to life, unleashing a thick wall of white foam over the pool like a tidal wave. Everyone froze, confused. Then the foam surged, swallowing Lorraine's perfect curls first. She shrieked, stumbling back, a champagne glass shattering on the concrete. Bridesmaids screamed, one slipping into the shallow end, heels flying like kites. I stood on the deck, arms folded, remote in hand. Lorraine's face, realizing this was no accident, was worth every second of prep. "What have you done?" she screamed, foam dripping from her bangs. The foam non-toxic, child-safe, eco-friendly made walking impossible, turning surfaces slick. Bridesmaids fell, shrieking like they were in a jello pit. Lorraine charged the deck, or tried to, her heels sinking. She tore them off, storming barefoot, eyes wild. "You're going to pay for this," she screeched, waving a shoe like a club. I raised my lemonade. "You trespassed on my property. I'm just cleaning it up." "You said we could use it," she yelled. "No," I said calmly. "You said you were using it." I said no. "When you insisted, I made it memorable." The DJ, his gear soaked, shouted about liability. A bartender slipped, toppling the drinks table, sending juice and vodka flying. Two groomsmen huddled under a patio umbrella like storm survivors. It was pandemonium. Then, predictably, Lorraine dialed 911, screaming about wedding sabotage and chemical foam. She faked coughs, claiming the foam was choking her. I stayed silent, sipping lemonade, recording. I'd already alerted the sheriff's department about potential trespassing, providing timestamps, footage, and written warnings I'd sent Lorraine via email and text. I wasn't reacting, I was executing. 15 minutes later, sirens announced two deputies pulling into the driveway, narrowly missing a sobbing bridesmaid on the sidewalk. Lorraine, seeing her backup, ran to them, slipping but recovering with dramatic flair. "Officers, he attacked us with chemical foam during my bridal party. My guests are injured. My dress is ruined." The deputies eyed her, then the bubble-filled yard, then me. I waved. "Afternoon, gentlemen." They turned to Lorraine. "You said this was your property?" "Yes, no, I mean, I was using it with permission," she stammered. The shorter deputy raised an eyebrow. "Got that permission in writing?" Lorraine froze. The taller one turned to me. "Sir, what happened?" "This is my property, my pool," I said. "They entered without consent after I explicitly refused. I've got video, emails, and HOA meeting footage proving they knew the boundaries. The foam cannon's legally rated for recreational use, non-toxic. I informed your department and the HOA board in advance." Lorraine's jaw dropped. The deputies took notes, asked questions, and told everyone to leave. Lorraine balked. "You're letting him get away with this?" "He embarrassed me." "If your fiancé was invited," a deputy said, "he'll have to meet you on the sidewalk. You're trespassing. Leave now, or we'll detain you." Silence hit like a thunderclap. Lorraine, seething and drenched, gathered her soaked bridesmaids, ordering them to grab unruined belongings. The DJ, muttering about never doing suburban gigs again, packed his soggy gear. I leaned on the railing, watching the foam machine wind down. The best part? Lorraine's fiancé arrived in a sleek BMW, bouquet in hand. He took one look at the foam-filled yard, the hysterical bridesmaids, and his dripping, furious fiancé. "You said this was a resort pool," he said, then got back in his car and drove off. Lorraine's face, as she stood in a puddle of bubbles and humiliation, was worth every single bubble.